Hello, and thank you all for joining us here at Jenkins Hall at Laurel Ridge Community College. This is number 3 in our 4 of scheduled debates. So today we will be talking to candidates from the Clerk of Court. My name is Ryan Covage. I'm currently running for Board of Supervisors in District 3. I have the privilege of being here with these fine folks because I was asked to serve as an independent third-party host. My hope is, of course, the first hope would be that I get elected as District 3 Supervisor, and then my goal is, regardless of the outcome of the election, to be able to work with anyone. So I'm really excited for that opportunity. I'm excited to be here, to be back at Laurel Ridge. It's a great community college. Definitely gave me a lot of opportunities, and I'm glad to be sitting here with these great candidates. So just really quick, a little information about voting information. So early voting did begin on Friday, September 22nd. The Page County Voter Registrar's Office is open from 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. And it's located in the Page County Government Center, which is over there on 103 South Court Street, Suite D, Luray. And if you have any questions, just give a call to 540-743-3986. Anyone who wishes to vote by absentee ballot, make sure you get that in the mail by October 27th. So early voting will also end on Saturday, November 4th. So thank you all for tuning in, and I know you'd love to hear me give some more really interesting voting registration facts. But at this time, I'll turn it over to Randy Arrington with the Page Valley News and the other candidates.
Thank you, Ryan.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to hide my water here, but I may need it at some point. So rather than stop the tape, we'll just get a sip of water if we need it, ladies.
That's right.
And then we'll keep going. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third of 4 planned debates among candidates in contested races in Page County, hosted by Page Valley News. We hope to enlighten the voters of Page County by going a little more in depth with each candidate who participates by providing a platform, finally this time, that places candidates side by side to discuss the issues important to that office. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of the candidates who participated in our recent Q&As on pagevalleynews.com. And we had 100% participation in that. So if you want more information about the candidates in these contested races for November 7th, you can go to pagevalleynews.com. Also, the first of 2 recorded segments, the first with Thomas Bauserman for Commissioner of the Revenue, and the second one was with Paula Kibner for the District 2 seat on the Page County Board of Supervisors. They can now be seen on our YouTube channel, or simply go to pagevalleynews.com and click on the videos that will be in the corresponding articles. You can also reach our YouTube channel by clicking on the YouTube icon and the red stripe at the top of the homepage at pagevalleynews.com. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. As always, we would like to thank Laurel Ridge Community College for allowing us to film here or record here on the second floor of Jenkins Hall in their beautiful conference room. We thank them for that. And we want to let you know that we are recording here on Monday, September the 25th. This is not set to air until Wednesday, October the 4th. You will be seeing 2 days from now when we're recording, we'll be releasing the second video with Paula Kibler. Now, today we're focusing on the race for Clerk of Page County Circuit Court. All 4 candidates on the November 7th ballot were given invitation to today's debate. Incumbent Grayson Markowitz and challenger Sharon Ballard declined our invitation. However, we offer a big thank you to the 2 candidates who did show up today, both independent challengers, Stephanie Breeden and Kim Bailey. Thank you both for being here. I know that both of you had to go out of your way to be here. You're headed off to the state fair on Wednesday and will be there through the weekend. You had to change 1 or 2 doctor's appointments and arrange things. So I am very, very grateful and thankful to both of you for making that effort to be here.
Thank you, Randy.
I really wish that Grayson and Sharon had considered this event worthwhile to be here as well.
Yes.
I think by the end of it, I think the folks watching are going to think it's worthwhile. So, ladies, thank you so much, and we're going to go ahead and get started now. And the first thing we want to do is we want to give each of you a couple of minutes to introduce yourselves and talk just a little bit about who you are and why you wanted to do that. But I tell you, the first thing that we didn't do, I was going to do this off camera, but now I'm going to do it on camera because I forgot to do it. Whoever wins the flip, and I'm going to let Kim call it, whoever wins the flip is going to get the first question. The other person will start off with their opening remarks.
Heads.
Heads it is. So you're going to get the first question. So Stephanie, that means we're going to start with you right now for your opening statement here, and just tell us all a little bit about yourself and why you want to be clerk of the court.
My name is Stephanie Breeden. I'm 45 years old, and I have lived in Page County my entire life. I've been married to my husband, Chad, for 23 years, almost 23 years. And I have two children, Eric and Corey. I have a new granddaughter who was born in July. And I've worked at the Commonwealth Attorney's Office since 2014. Prior to that, I was an eligibility worker and a fraud investigator at Social Services in Page County. And so in my role at the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, I work closely with the criminal docket in circuit court. And I will say the docket has exploded. I think that could be an understatement if you're someone that's in that world of work. Mm-hmm. It's very busy. So I also handle civil matters. I see some other things that happen through the clerk's office. It needs to be a leadership change. There needs to be organization. So, the employees that work in the clerk's office are hardworking employees. They put in a lot of hours, and they deserve a leader. So, I believe I can bring that.
Sorry about that, folks. I was moving the mic around a little bit, and we got a little short cord on us, and we lost our camera. So, here we go in our second segment of our third part of the 4-part series. We just did an opening statement with Stephanie, so now Kim, it's your turn for your opening statement.
Okay, thank you, Randy. I first want to thank you for hosting this. I think it's very important that this has been done. I feel like an informed voter is the best voter, and I think everybody should have participated, but they chose not to, so we'll move on with that. My name is Kim Bailey, and I am a candidate running for the clerk of court. I was born and raised here in Page County, spent the majority of my life here. I have 2 grown daughters and 4 grandchildren, 2 boys and 2 girls that I'm very proud of. I've also worked in the court office for 17 years. Loved the work that I did. And I'm running, I think the reason mostly that I'm running is I care deeply for that office. I haven't spent 17 years there for nothing. I care. I want to see improvements. I want to make changes to help the employees as well as the public. So,
all right, thank you very much for your opening statements, and we're going to now get into our question portion here. Again, thank you for both being here today. We did the coin flip a moment ago before our little camera mishap, and Kim won the coin flip. So we're going to give her the first question, and we'll just sort of flip back and forth as we go along. So my first question, and both candidates will get a version of the question, but we're going to start with you, Kim. The clerk's position oversees a lot of different functions of the courts, from criminal cases to land records. What qualities do you bring to the table to handle managing all of those various roles?
That's a very good question. And I think that my leadership, I'm very organized, detail-oriented is very crucial. And time management skills, that's something I think that really needs to be worked on. Nothing against the people that are working currently because they're doing the best that they can. But I think with some training, that would help assist in that.
I would pose the same question to you, Stephanie. What qualities do you bring to handle managing all those many various roles that happen in the clerk's office?
I think an effective clerk that is in a leadership role is going to be able to handle him or herself a lot of those responsibilities. So when things are behind or someone is out sick, then that clerk can pick up those duties and move on with them. And there are almost 1,000. It feels like, I think it's over 800 responsibilities that a clerk has. So there's no way that any one person's going to learn every one of those responsibilities. Even people that were in that office for 30 years don't know every single job. But look, if someone's in custody and they need to be released, I certainly hope that a clerk would be able to pick that up and get that person their freedom, or vice versa. You know, if someone's waiting on a divorce to be signed, they should be able to process that paperwork. So I feel like being in that office, seeing how things have, ran, that does help me to be more prepared for it. Everybody can pretend there's one person in charge, which there is. I probably posed that wrong, but that is a team in that office, and the left hand really has to work with the right hand, and they have to know what each other are doing.
Well, that you segue good into my next question, which you get the first crack at. So again, referring to all those various functions, I think one of the other candidates, maybe the incumbent, even referred to it in his Q&A responses that we did on pagevalleynews.com. So let's, as you said, not everybody can necessarily be an expert on everything. So what experience do you have, and what do you think you need more training on?
Okay, so the criminal docket is a large part of the clerk's office, and I do have the most of my experience in the criminal docket. So preparing, getting the dockets organized, getting them sent to the entities that need them to function for the next day timely. That's an issue that needs to, that I have experience with, I guess you'd say. Getting grand jury set up, that sort of thing. The civil side of things, I do have experience in that. I don't know that forwards and backwards like I do criminal, but I do know some of that. I do have some experience in some other issues, like I look up orders, I look up land records, things like that. And that all that's open to the public. So,
well, I would pose the same question to you, Kim. What experience do you have, and what do you think you need work on?
Well, after being there 17 years, I feel like I'm very experienced in that office. A lot of people have asked, out talking with people, what does the clerk do? And unless you've had to come to the circuit court or, been involved in some kind of case there, a lot of people don't know everything, all the aspects in that office. It's sort of, to me, it's sort of like the nervous system of the county, in a sense, because there's so many branches that reach out to everybody that sooner or later in life, you'll be in that office, either for a marriage license or, when you purchase land or your mortgage or anything like that. It's not just the criminal division. There is the civil division. There's the probate division. And all of it is a very important aspect to that office. It's not just, the court side. It's a lot of the other stuff too. We do adoptions, we do name changes. It's so much detail that goes into that office. I would say all the front of that office I'm very familiar with. Now the courtroom would be the least thing that I would do. Okay. But everything else I feel I'm very knowledgeable and experienced in that office and know how to deal with the people.
Well, both of you that are here with us today are running on a platform of change.
Yes.
You're claiming that the current management is inefficient and not effective. And if you bear with me just a moment here, I'm going to read one of your quotes about where the current situation is. The most pressing issue is that the circuit court is lacking strong leadership. The lack of strong leadership ultimately leads to a multitude of additional issues. I'd like for you to expand on that and talk about what kind of changes you would make to make sure, at least at one thing, that there's a consistent workflow in the office.
Yes. Bringing my leadership skills, I feel, to that office would be such an improvement. You have got to be organized to run that office. That's something that's not happening currently, and it definitely needs to be improved. I mean, when you have an organized office, it doesn't look like, when people come in and ask questions or looking for a file, they're not scrambling trying to do that. That, to me, has been very embarrassing the last year. I'm not blaming the people there working because, like Stephanie said, they are very hard workers. But organization has to be brought in that office. It needs to run a lot more efficiently than it does now. So I think that's something that's very important and that needs to be worked on there.
Stephanie, I'm going to read from your answers that you provided in our Q&A. You said, I'm a part of the day-to-day operations and have knowledge of the work in the clerk's office. I see the lack of leadership and the need for an organized and professional environment. I believe I have the ability to become part of that solution. Tell me about some of the changes you would make and some of the problems you see.
So I think as a leader, a supervisor, it may mean that you need to say to an employee, you've got, you need to learn this aspect of what we do in this office. And maybe this is not your strong suit, so maybe you would be better in land records or at the front answering phones, that sort of thing. You can't always just ask and always let an employee decide that for themselves, because as a supervisor, as a leader, you have to do what's right for the citizens of this county. Like Kim said, every facet of, at one point or another, someone is going to be affected by what happens in that clerk's office. And it is very important what goes there, what goes in the books, and what is recorded is exact. It is like it should be. It's someone's freedom some days. It's settling someone's inheritance. Like it is very important. So you have to be able to make those decisions sometimes on the fly. Like I say, I go back to, you really have to know the broad spectrum of that office. You have to know the ins and outs of it.
Well, one of the aspects of this debate that I kind of threw a little twist in there is I asked each of you before you come, actually all four candidates, if they had been here, to submit 3 questions for their opponent. So I'm going to give you a question here that Kim has brought today. What do you visualize happening in the clerk's office, if elected, during your first 120 days?
That's
an interesting question.
I posed the same question, so that's funny. So I honestly, to walk in the door, the first 120 days, I think we need to step back and look at what is crucial today, what has to be processed, what has to be recorded today, what's behind, what are we missing.
Do a little triage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like I say, that might mean that we've got to learn new jobs. We've got to figure out a new process. That could mean that. That's where I would start.
Well, Kim, I would pose Stephanie's first question, which is a little similar, but if elected,
mixed up.
if elected, you could potentially face conflict between current employees and yourself due to the current clerk not being, reelected. How do you think you would approach and resolve that situation with some of your former coworkers?
Well, the first thing I would like to say is that definitely may happen, and I understand that because they are dedicated to him. They are supportive of him. But looking back, we have been supportive of the previous clerk as well. There is adjustments that would have to be made, and I think sitting down with them and talking to them and explaining to them that I didn't run for this office out of spite. I ran because I care about it and I want to make it better for them as well. And I think it's just something on a daily basis we would have to work on and talk about.
Well, let's go back into some questions I prepared here. One problem highlighted recently was the backlog of processing orders issued by judges in criminal cases. That's something that was brought up at a Board of Supervisors meeting. It's something that has potentially cost the county unnecessarily in taxpayer dollars and potentially even open the county up to some liability. So you were working in the office during this past year when that buildup happened. So what happened and what can be done to fix it so it doesn't happen again?
Well, that's the side of the office that I'm less familiar with because I don't work the courtroom. But I would say that definitely training for these deputy clerks in that office is utmost importance. The ones that are learning it now, nothing bad to say about them, but the ones that are learning it now have been taught from previous ones. And I'm not sure that it's the most efficient training. And that's why I feel like that they need really good training to come into that office and work with each of them to bring it up to speed, because I don't know, my work ethic is that would not be acceptable to me. And I know you're not supposed to stay over and work, but I think it's just something that has to be done to get that office caught up.
Was there folks working overtime that weren't getting paid for it?
Yes.
Does that seem fair?
No, it's not fair. It's not fair at all.
All right. I'll let you go on that. But Kim, excuse me, Stephanie, I would say also your office, not your office, but the office you work in, I should say, to be technically accurate, took some of the blame here on this one and stepped up and admitted there were some problems. So again, I would sort of repeat the question: what happened and what could be done to keep that from happening again?
So the way the process works is the clerk's office processes the sentencing orders, and the Commonwealth's office completes revocation orders. But when a defendant is processed, I guess for lack of a better term for the general public, and they've been sentenced for a revocation, there's also some paperwork that goes to the jail, and normally that's what the jail looks at to release their inmate or calculate time. The disposition notices go to the jails. The clerk's office the Commonwealth's office processes somewhere between 130 to 175 revocation orders a year.
Okay.
And so when someone comes through the court system, you may get time revoked on a previous charge.
Okay.
But the previous time was a time served sentence, and that time served has not been calculated by DOC yet. So you can't write that new revocation order till that time gets calculated. So sometimes that's a hold up in the process. So those have been corrected, and there are always those sentencing orders, revocation orders. You cannot always process them the day of. It's not possible.
Yeah.
So there are times that we have to go back, and I think we were missing 6 of them. So there was a list of 14, and my office was missing, I think, 6 of them. So they were done, and we went back and figured it out and got them turned in.
Well, I want to expand a little bit on the backlog, and this is not a question I wrote down, but it's kind of a follow up. Explain to people, the difference. It was like with jury trials in particular. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about, if I'm not mistaken, we're talking less than a handful a year to maybe that many in a week, right? Or what's been the growth of that?
So what happened was the law changed, and so now a defendant can choose to have their sentence decided by the judge, who a lot of times will go by the Virginia sentencing guidelines, and a jury doesn't always, so I think the code might say that a person can receive up to 5 years of, and I don't know that I have that exactly right. I would have to look. Up to 5 years for a simple possession of a Schedule 1, Schedule 2 drug. Mm-hmm. So, most of the time that's not what a person receives if the judge sentences them to that. But a jury may, and there's no way to know. So a lot of times, what has happened is the law has now changed to say that I can request a jury trial and I can request the judge to determine my sentence. Okay. And that has happened.
And that's added a lot of work.
Yes.
Well,
so in 2000, I would say from like 2014, 15, up until the law changed, we may have actually had 1 to 2 jury trials a year.
Wow.
many,
Wow. Yeah.
And now we're scheduling them 2 to 3 deep a week on a Wednesday. That's not counting the ones that are set for Mondays when the judge is available,
Right.
or Tuesday when
Right.
there's not a civil docket.
Right.
That's the other thing. Like the courtroom is the courtroom, but it also has to serve a civil docket, so you can't fill it up with just criminal.
Right. Well, Kim, you were working in the office. I mean, you had to see a difference in the. I mean, I know criminal cases weren't your slice of the pie there, but
Right.
at the same time, you had to see the chaos it was creating in the office.
It was a lot of chaos. I mean, when you got in the office that day, you felt like you were just chasing your tail all day, literally. It's so busy. And
Well, as a member of that office, what was being? I mean, obviously there was there an attitude of, well, that's just the way it is, or was there anything being done to help mitigate the workflow, keep it going? I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, you just like, for me, my part was all the land records. That's what I did from the morning to the evening. I mean, I did the land records, the judgments, the handgun permits, and they have really increased. The handgun permits have gone crazy. But as far as helping with the criminal end of it, that's more in the courtroom that I didn't. Now I would go look for files, or
But did you see the current clerk managing the situation or not managing the situation, or?
To be perfectly honest, I would say there was not a lot of management, period, with that. Trying to find files and pulling the dockets, that would take place in the evening before, prior to the next day of court. Just misplaced files. That drove me insane, just because I'm so organized and like everything in a certain place. But trying to find the stuff and...
But you didn't see a lot of reaction to the situation from the leadership.
No, I did not.
So Kim, Stephanie, your office working directly with the clerk, did you see the clerk making any adjustments, or was it just one day at a time?
I did not, Randy. And I hesitate to say that, and I don't know Kim's feeling, because I don't want anybody in this county to think that I am I've been accused of slinging mud. That's not at all what I'm trying to do. But if the people don't know what's happening, someone needs to tell them. So my answer to that is no.
Well, I'm gonna segue right into probably only going to use 2 questions from each of you that you brought, but one that Kim had here says the criminal docket is a large part of the clerk's office. Is the current system or process good, or should it change?
It is a large part of it, and it is not efficient. So, ironically, there's always been one clerk that has handled that, and that clerk went to a new job, and it fell to another clerk in the office. And things were so busy that when that new clerk came in, she didn't, she was still learning. Like, she walked into it still learning, and there was no help. And, so that left that person to drown in work, and nobody came behind her and really picked up the work and really helped her get it processed. I did a lot of that on my side of things, trying to figure out times for people, trying to, who was on the docket, where are the PB-15s coming from. On a normal year, and I don't even know how you define normal at this point in life, what's normal, but, for years, our indictments have been in the 500 to maybe 600. In 2021 or 2, we had over 900 indictments. So those are, the new cases. Indictments are new cases that go in the grand jury from either the lower court or a direct. So, the lower courts are feeling the squeeze too. It's not just circuit court, but it's just how it's handled. That's it. Now there are 3 people handling the criminal docket.
Right, where there was one.
Right.
Well, Kim, one thing you've talked about is cross-training, and that kind of leads into one of the questions that Stephanie had for you here. But, cross-training is obviously something that would help if the staff members were more versatile and can handle different parts of the court. But if the court is already playing catch-up, is already just treading water to try to keep up with this flow of criminal cases and other things that are exploding, how are you going to have time for training?
Well, time has got to be made. I mean, there's no way around it. People have got whoever's in there working, they have got to learn some training. Right now, I think you would definitely have to just go with the best that you could to catch it up. But there's no way around it. Training has to be implemented in that office. What I would like to do with that office is, each individual that's set in the probate or the criminal or the civil or land, each of those need to learn that exactly, what needs to be done, the knowledge of each of those divisions. And then after that, that's not something that's going to happen in a year. I mean, that's going to be a little over quite a bit of a time to get that done. But after that, I would like to see everybody in that office be rotated. I think it's very important that everybody in that office knows each other's jobs to an extent, because if somebody's out on leave or, sick or anything, they're just not in the office, somebody in that office needs to be able to step up and do that job.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to start with this question with you. Again, considering the many elements that of the office that are involved, and the fact that you're managing people and you're managing situations, and the situation could be true if you're running a retail outlet or a business, whatever. What do you think makes a good manager or leader?
That's a good question. What makes a good manager or leader? Well, I mean, to me, you would need to be somebody who can take charge of stuff, not be afraid to tell somebody, no, they can't take off today, or you've got to manage the time in that office. You've got to manage your people. Let them know you care about them. You've got to build morale. That encourages them to work harder, in my opinion. Just like I thought about, as it is in that office now, performance ranking would be a good thing to start. Having an assistant chief deputy, your chief deputy. Because when the clerk's not there, somebody needs to be in charge. Not all 5 people.
And there's not a number 2 right now?
There's not like that. It's never been like that. And that's something that I want to bring to that office. I think that's very important for whoever's working there at the time. I mean, that builds morale, in my opinion, and it needs to be done. So that's something, that I strive very hard and want to bring to that office, along with the cross-training and a new jury system. I think that's something that needs to be brought in. It's I've been looking into some stuff. It's an easy jury. It sends out the questionnaires. It scans them. If they can call in and check when they are to be in court and the time. And if anything changes, we can shoot out an email to them, a text, letting them know the changes, because a lot of things, or a lot of time to me, is wasted of the clerk to set and make, phone calls all day long to try to reach people. I think that the time of that being done could be used doing something else.
Is that the system that's used over in Rockingham? I've heard people talking about. Okay.
Yes, and I've checked around, and I've also checked with the surrounding counties, and it's really amazing to me. And I know Stephanie knows how busy the criminal division is, but it's so amazing that the other counties don't have this increase, and I don't know where it's going wrong or what's happening. But after COVID, I mean, as Stephanie said, the criminal division has just gone. It's
right.
blew up. They haven't seen a change like Page County has, Warren County or Fauquier. So I'm just like, wow, what's happening in Page County that it's all gone like this?
Yeah,
so
it seems like a state law changing would affect everybody.
But they have not seen an increase in it. So I'm not really sure what's happening, but
I find that strange.
Yeah.
But I want to put the same question to you, Stephanie. What makes a good manager or leader?
First of all, you have to be a team player. There are, attitude is a lot of what a good leader, a good quality in a leader from the word go. It's not always a do as I say atmosphere. And, I think compensating employees for the time that they work and not shrugging it off as, well, it's your time. That's not okay. Being an example for your employees or for your team, that's very important. Being able to never asking your employee to do something that you wouldn't do. I don't think it's okay to say, well, I'm leaving, you stay here and work at 8:00 at night. That's not being part of the team. So I think that's very important. I do feel like being available to your staff when they need you, or being able to pick up and fix what's behind. The office is probably about 2 years behind. It is not going to be, whoever gets this position is not going to be able to fix it in a month. Yeah. And that's sad for the community. It is. But it's like, I envision in a chicken house when you're gathering eggs, you can't say, hang on, just stop giving us eggs. Let's get all these straightened up, because you're going to have all this work.
Well, it's like Lucille Ball at the chocolate factory. The chocolates don't stop. They just keep coming. They just keep coming.
So, I mean, it's going to take work. It is going to take long, hard hours of work.
Go right ahead. No, please, go right ahead.
And what she's saying, and I totally agree with that, but to me, a good leader also, you as the clerk need to know everything in that office. I mean, you need to know the civil, the criminal, the land, all that. I mean, how are you expecting the people in that office to perform a job that you can't perform?
Yeah.
So I think that's very important as the clerk to know all the positions as well to help out your team.
The other independent challenger in this race, Sharon Ballard, in her Q&As to PageValleyNews.com said, quote, documented deficiencies in performance by the Auditor of Public Accounts. This was why she was running for the office. Documented deficiencies in performance by the Auditor of Public Accounts, as well as comments on the street, indicate that a change in leadership is needed in the clerk's office. Of all the individuals seeking the position, my overall skill set, varied experience, and work ethic position served me best in doing the job for the people of Page County and the court. In addition, anyone who is honest will admit that the remuneration package is attractive. Are you running for this job for the paycheck?
Absolutely not. I'm not. No. I mean, the pay is, I can tell you the truth, I don't even know what the pay is. I think it's over 100.
Currently $133,000 for the current
No, I don't. Clerk. I am not running for that reason. I'm running because I truly care about that office, and I do want to make it a better place. And I know it's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. I'd pose the same thing to you. Running for the paycheck?
Absolutely not.
Don't call you Johnny?
No. She's a Republican. I don't want you to get in trouble for saying she's independent. But
oh, I'm sorry. No. That is correct. That is, Miss Ballard did win the Republican nomination. As a matter of fact, she was clear in her answers in her Q&A to make sure that we knew out of 200 and some votes that she had secured all of 120 votes during the Republican committee meeting to earn that. But what we might want to remind her is that this election will probably have 8,000 or 9,000 votes cast. 120 won't go far. You're running for the paycheck?
No, absolutely not.
That's your answer. Okay, all right. We'll move on. Let's move on. We covered that one. All right, so let's get here towards the end here, and I'm going to give you both an opportunity. I believe I'm going to start with Stephanie on this one. Is there any issue that we have not discussed? I'm talking about a specific issue, not an overall thing, but an issue that we haven't discussed or talked about that you would like to bring up now.
I have a lot of issues.
All right.
I could talk about,
let's just deal with one of them right now.
I don't know that I can bring all those up. I don't want to. There are the processing of the paperwork. That is a big issue in my book. I do feel a little bit different in Kim's thought about, I do feel like you should be able to be everybody should be cross-trained. I do think that. I don't think that rotating from job to job is really a good idea because, for instance, if John Smith was here on a charge and he's been back 3 times or she's been back 3 times, and you gain rapport with that case, so you know what happens to it, so you can in your mind keep up with things a little better. Same can be said for land records and that sort of thing. And you do become a little bit more specialized because you do understand the codes that go with the job that you're doing. Now, should there be enough cross-training that someone could go into court if I'm out sick? Yes, absolutely. But there needs to be, right now, Rockingham County is processing our sentencing orders for us. That's not going to happen much longer, but...
Well, hold on. Another county is processing our orders for us?
The sentencing orders, yes, sir.
Okay.
Because when a previous clerk had left, no one was trained to do that.
Is that normal? That's kind of out of the ordinary, isn't it?
I wouldn't say it was
okay.
normal.
All right.
And that would only be my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even remember what it was, but yeah. So that's an issue.
Yeah.
A big issue for me right now is the process of the paperwork. It sounds maybe in the public's eye a small issue, but it's huge.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pose the question to you now, Kim. Is there something that we have not talked about, a specific issue that you would like to bring up at this point? You were talking a little bit about the jury system.
No, I don't think there's anything I really need to bring up. But I do want to clarify what I meant as far as rotating. I just meant rotating till we all can learn a little bit about each other's, because I think it is important to stick with what we know. I mean, as far as like land records that I've done for 17 years, I know the title people that come in, people call and just ask for me. These realtors call and say, hey, Kim, has so-and-so been recorded? And I know that, and I know them. So I didn't mean it as we're going to continue to do that. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
But other than that, I'm pretty good. I mean, me and Stephanie's on the same page here. I mean, we both know it's definitely has to be improved. No questions.
Well, let me, talking about improvement, and we're talking about both of you running on a platform of change. I'm going to quote Mr. Markowitz here on a couple of things that he said early on in our Q&As. And he said, our excellent staff are cross-trained in all aspects of the office to accommodate this increased workload. Is that accurate?
I would say no to you. Because if the cross-training took place, it took place after June 20th.
Okay.
And I'll say this, if he's saying they were cross-trained, I'm assuming he is saying that somebody else in a position is trying to show these other ones how to do this. Mm-hmm. I guess it's the best that they know how to do, but that's not proper to me.
I'm going to read you another quote. I have a proven track record of effective leadership and management, notable achievements, and have ensured initiatives that have streamlined court processes, improved accessibility, and promoted community engagement with the clerk office. Do you agree with that statement?
I do not.
And why not?
I don't think that he possesses any leadership skills. I don't. That's just being honest. I don't think that he has that. The current clerk he's a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. He's a nice guy. I'm not trying to badmouth him, and he probably did well in his business as far as his selling the washing machines and dryers and working on appliances. But just because that you're good at that doesn't mean you're good as a clerk. And that's just my feelings.
Very well. Stephanie, I'm going to put you on the spot as well and say, I'm going to refer to that last quote. I have a proven track record of effective leadership and management. Notable achievements have ensured initiatives that have streamlined court processes, improved accessibility, and promoted community engagement with the clerk office. Your thoughts about that comment?
I feel like the track record speaks for itself, Randy.
Okay. All right.
I don't think if the track record was effective and proven that there would be 3 candidates in this race.
I agree.
Aside from the incumbent. I'm trying to figure out what processes have streamlined the process. The only thing I can think of that might be referring to would be in the Polycom system in the courtroom. But I don't know. That may have been in the works when Mr. Wilson was clerk. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start off here. We're going to wind down, and I'm going to go ahead. And I think you've all been grilled enough. I think we've
I can
let this go on. And
but I don't think
we
the
can
public
talk
would like
about
that.
it
Yeah.
all day in there.
I don't want to kind of repeat different
yeah.
questions and things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually combine my last two questions, or my last question here, into basically what will be your closing statement, because it sets you up for the same thing. So we started. I believe. Did you do the first? You did the opening statement.
Yeah.
Opening statement. So I'm gonna let Kim. I'm gonna let Kim start out here. So in some voters' minds, they see a first-time office seeker going against the incumbent. Of course, there's multiple candidates here, but I want you to tell people now, kind of in your closing statement, and take your time to let people know why should they vote for you in 2023, and look at the folks out there and tell them.
Well, the reason I feel like you should vote for me in this election is I do have 17 years experience in that office. I do want to make it a better place and be a great leader for the clerk's office. I have dedicated many years to that office, and I just feel like change has to come. If you don't come in the office, you don't participate in anything that would take place there, you wouldn't know what's happening in that office. So I just think people need to really sit and think about how they vote for this office. There's been so much negativity and stuff going around with some of these other races that it's not been a great side. I'm just very thankful that as far as our race, we have not had any of that. And I feel like Stephanie and I both know we're both on the same page as far as the changes that need to be made. And I just feel like if it's not in God's plan for me to win this election, I want to say that I hope it is for Stephanie. And I wish you the best. But I really feel in my heart that I can make a difference in that office. I want to be the change that takes place. So with that being said, I would really appreciate your support November the 7th, voting for Kim Bailey for clerk. Thank you. Thank
you very much. And Stephanie, I would pose the same question to you to kind of wrap into your closing statement. You are also an independent challenger, first-time public office seeker. So why should folks support you and vote for you here in 2023?
Well, this is, in fact, the first time that public office has been my goal. I've held other leadership positions in many other volunteer aspects of life, which I know is very different. But I understand how to make things come together, work as a team to get things established. I've been in the community. I've tried to support my community in many aspects of my life. I feel like being in that office on a daily basis and getting to see the process, how it runs, I deal with the comp board, county budgets, those sort of things that I already work with. They're important. Going in front of the board of supervisors to ask for, whatever changes need to be made. Mm-hmm. I would like to see the difference, what the county pays the current clerk on top of what the comp board pays. I would like to take that money and use it for a part-time person. Right. Obviously, that has to go through the board of supervisors and Amity. Right. There's a process for that.
Sure.
So, I think that's just one way to improve things. But I do feel like that I'm there every day. I see what happens. I have rapport with the people that work in the, in the bar association now, if that's even a thing. But so I do feel like I can be that change. I am excited that people have the option to vote early. If mobility is an issue, even that, the clerk, the general registrar, I talked to their office and they can come and meet you at your car. My nanny, who's 92, will be voting in her very first election, so they're going to get that.
Wow.
Yeah, they're going to help her with that. So I do feel like that I can be the change. So.
Well, thank you very much. And thank both of you ladies for being here today. And Stephanie, I thank you for providing the quarter for our flip. I'm going to give that back to you so you didn't say I took anything from you here today. And again, a big, big thank you to these ladies who had to rearrange their schedules to be here today. And I truly, truly appreciate it so much. Once again, Page Valley News would like to thank all of the candidates, and we invite you to join us again next week on our YouTube channel when we release the fourth of our 4 planned debates featuring the candidates for the sheriff of Page County. We would again like to thank Laurel Ridge Community College again for allowing us to record here in the beautiful setting of Jenkins Hall. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. You can click on the YouTube icon at the top, that red stripe in the top of our homepage on pagevalleynews.com. You can check out the Q&As there if you want to find out more about all of the candidates in contested races. We have their biographical information and 5 questions for each of them. And I'd also encourage everybody to go back and look at the September 7th public forum, which both of these ladies attended over at Trackside Theater, hosted by Know Your Local Candidates, Page County. And my hat's off to that group for their efforts as well. We are planning more content in the future to add to the debates on our YouTube channel, and we hope that you all will visit there. So for Page Valley News, I'm Randy Arrington saying thanks for clicking on our video, and I'm going to turn it back over now to Mr. Ryan Cuppage to close out.
Thank you, Randy.
Well, hopefully you all have stuck with us to the end there. The very first and foremost thing that I'd like to say to the candidates who are here, I have just so much respect and admiration for how you all have carried yourself during this time period. I think against a national backdrop of some division, even here locally, it's really refreshing and nice to see that we can come together, have some discussion, and be cordial and friendly. November 7th is a date on the calendar, and it will pass.
Exactly.
And the folks who have been running will still continue to live here. And I think it's important that regardless of the outcome of the election, they are still citizens of the county who had a heart and a desire to serve, and that's why they ran. Right. Abraham Lincoln surrounded himself by the folks who disagreed with him most. So I would just encourage folks to think of that as we go forward. And something that you all touched on, I cannot encourage folks enough, please go vote. There's early voting. There's so much being done to help with mobility issues like you were alluding to, and get out there on November 7th and vote. A lot of folks have fought and made sure that we have the freedom to do that. So please go out and vote. Again, I'm Ryan Cuppage, and I hope you all have enjoyed us. See you in a week.